Okay, YouTube. Now, for once, I sort of wanted to do like a political viewpoint of mine and not really be biased when I'm doing this, because personally I consider myself a conservative, although I like bipartisantism, however you say that word. I'm not sure how to, because I haven't really said it a lot before. I've only typed it and wrote it out. So, I wanted to briefly touch on Rush Limbaugh and Michael Moore, two completely different sides of the political playfield, because Michael Moore is, I'm fairly certain at least, he's a die-hard liberal, and Rush Limbaugh is a right-wing extremist. Which, for those of you who don't know what a right-wing extremist is, it means that he's so far to the right side of the aisle, he's literally poking his right ear to the left side. That's how far to the right he is. Really? They're so different that they're fairly similar in their... I'm kidding. No, they're not. If you put Rush Limbaugh and Michael Moore in the same room, neither of them would come out, because they'd probably eat themselves, because if you put two people in a room long enough, they'll eat themselves anyway. But really, with those two, no one knows what they would do anyway, because they're both crazy. Well, I don't want to insult anyone by saying that, but they're two very extreme personalities. Oh, the music in the background is Land of Hope and Glory. It's one of my favorite songs. But, oh, by the way, I have a sword right now, for protection. So, getting back to Michael Moore and Rush Limbaugh, I personally don't care that much for Rush Limbaugh, simply because I feel that he insults people very often. And he has a talk show, and usually when you call into his talk show on the radio, I don't even know what channel it's on, because I don't listen to it. I wouldn't want to listen to it. But he interrupts you when he wants to, and interjects his opinions, and then when you try to correct him because he's misinterpreting your opinion, he calls you either a traitor, a terrorist, or, worse of all, he calls you... It's such a dirty word, I can't even say it. He says you hate donuts. There, I said it. He says you hate donuts. I'm kidding, he doesn't really say that, but I'm assuming that's something he would say, because I think I've seen a donut box on his show very often, and on more than one occasion I was watching actual videos of him talking on YouTube on his show. But getting off track again. So after he calls you names and interrupts you numerous times, he then assumes that you're trying in some way to convince his listeners that the right wing is a bunch of crazy people, and for the most part it might be. The liberals have their share of crazy people, so I think it kind of evens it out. You could argue with the Tea Party, though, they kind of... liberals, conservatives, whoops! Anyway, really, quite frankly, I don't have a problem with people thinking the right wing is crazy and people thinking the left wing is crazy. You're entitled to your opinion. But when Rush Limbaugh says that you hate the right wing, and when he says that you like the left wing, he's usually just saying that because he feels threatened by people threatening his intelligence. Because usually when you call into his talk show, you're an intelligent person and have something intelligent to say. That is granted, you're disagreeing with Rush Limbaugh. But really, I personally think that he can at times sound like a presidential candidate wannabe, because he always is saying He's always putting his political views across. He's always ranting about Obama, about how Obama should not be in office, about how he's a socialist bureaucrat who thinks that everyone should be wearing the color red on Sundays. He didn't really say that, but that's the level of craziness that he can get to sometimes. And that when insulting you and interjecting his opinion into yours and then threatening to, like, press the button to cut the call, then he starts yelling at you. And when he starts yelling, it's like a ship horn. You can't really get past it. And then the other person starts yelling, and you can't understand anything that they're saying. Because by that time, you're too annoyed with him to want to get your point across, so you hang up your phone, and he takes that as he was right, you realized you were wrong, and you disconnected your call because you didn't want to listen to his righteous opinion anymore. So, I mean, really, Rush? Really? Is that what you're trying to get across? That you want to be an arrogant blowhard who thinks that he's always right? I understand that sometimes you might think you're always right, but there's got to be a point when you have to admit that you're wrong. I mean, how stupid would you sound if you always said, I'm right, you're wrong, my opinion is the right one, and whatever you say means that you're a liberal and that you're a traitor to America. First of all, before the liberals came around, there was a party... Well, the liberals have always been around. They haven't always been Democrats, but they've been called liberals. And before the Republican Party was formed by Abraham Lincoln... That's a little fun fact for you. The Republican Party was founded by Abraham Lincoln. There were the Whigs. I want to say Whig, but I pronounce things like W-H, Whig. So, it's spelled W-H-I-G, for those of you who don't know. And they were basically like the Republican Party of their day. A lot of our... Not a lot, but a handful of our presidents were Whigs. Or Whigs. And the Democrats, or the Liberals, and the Whigs did not get along. In fact, I think James K. Polk was a Whig. And so, really, the, oh, just exited out. But the thing is, though, that there's always been the two sides. But the difference is the Republicans are a younger party than... Technically, they're a younger party than the Democrats. So saying that the conservative cause has always been there and is the righteous cause, as opposed to the liberals, who always have been corrupt. The liberals have been around, technically, longer than the conservatives have, by actual official party means. So, that claim doesn't make sense on one count. The second count is that unless you're Mary Tudor, I don't think you can really say that your cause is just, and it's the only one, and that everyone else is a liar, a traitor, and a heretic. I'm only saying heretic because that's what Mary Tudor said, cause good old Bloody Mary. So, she was Queen Mary the First of England. Those of you who don't know English history, I strongly suggest that you go back to a history class. But getting off topic again, I want to go now on to Michael Moore, because Michael Moore is fairly similar to Rush Limbaugh in his extremism, sort of. He really is like Rush Limbaugh's arch nemesis. And something funny that I realized is that if you did put Rush Limbaugh and Michael Moore into a room together, if they didn't eat themselves after a month or so, or after a few weeks, and if they didn't just disappear into thin air, because when you put those two together, it's kind of like putting the good and the bad version of Darth Vader into a room at once. They just die. But I honestly think that this would happen. If you notice, if you're a big fan of, like, wordplay and puns, if you take both of their last names, Rush and Moore, and if you were to put them on a mountain, it would be Mount Rushmore. Although Mount Rushmore has some pretty big heads, No one is more big-headed than them, so I think they would take up the entire mountain. Yeah, just be two massive heads of Michael Moore and Rush Limbaugh. So, also, I wanted to personally express my earnest wishes of a speedy recovery and a speedy rebuilding process to the people along the eastern coast, especially in North Carolina, which at the moment is being hit by Hurricane Irene. Camera. That's actually the first time that's happened in the entire video, I think. But that isn't... Second time it's happened. Camera. So, really, they can't name hurricanes something more threatening. Like, if they gave them some names that were, like, ghetto-ish, like, I don't know, like Matthew, for instance. Matthew is a fairly ghetto name. Yeah. Or Matthias, or Bartholomew. Those are ghetto names, right? I mean, Irene is such an inviting and warm name. No one's gonna run away from Irene. I'm kidding. Matthew, Matthias, and Bartholomew are not ghetto names at all. I was just saying that to sound funny, but now that I think about it, I would just... No. So... Yeah. And, really, just... like, Focluisha, and, like, Bobstisha and Bobo. Like, those kind of names. They should name hurricanes those kind of names. That would scare people. I mean... There was one time that I actually saw a person who was dressed in the modern attire, the kind of clothes I don't wear, with their pants really low and, like, a sideways hat, and they weren't wearing fake glasses. I noticed that... Camera. I noticed that right away. They weren't wearing fake glasses. And, well... Quite frankly, not wearing fake glasses doesn't make you not ghetto. It just makes you not me. So, thank you for not ripping me off, ghetto people. But, and I don't want to discriminate by saying ghetto, because by ghetto, I don't mean a place where minorities live. I want to get that straight, because minorities don't always live in the ghetto. In fact, a lot of the minorities are now becoming the majorities in America. By ghetto, I mean a fairly... not necessarily the safest place to live, and not necessarily... I'm talking like lower middle class and lower class, or middle class in some cases, places to live. They're just in like a not very good located part of town because of certain aspects of that part of town. Because it's not the people that make it a ghetto, it's the part of town it's in. And the parts of that town. So, really... my doorbell's ringing, 1 second. Where was I? Oh yeah, I was getting off topic. No, but in all seriousness, I'm a huge fan of Michael Moore and Rush Limbaugh. I'm kidding, they're both idiots. Bye! And to my viewers, yet again, have a quacky day.